Talking with the experts.
Farah Ismail shares 3 proven strategies to reimagine your business and forge a new path towards living a more fulfilled life in episode 319.
There's a lot of energy that I feel when I'm looking ahead, so for me, this is the direction that drives me. So while there's a lot I learned from where I've come from, and I can pull that out, but just the fact that I can look ahead and start dreaming of the kind of life I want to create, the kind of the people I want to meet, the business I want to start, the collaborations I want to make. Just when I think about that, it really shifts my energy. So I truly believe that it's about how you view things. And at one time, I've been there. I had this tendency of when I'm trying to do something new, that I would make it like a huge mountain. I mean, for me, it looked like climbing Mount Everest, and it would paralyze me because.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Farah Ismail. And Farah is going to be talking to us about reimagining your business. Now, Farah is an internationally recognized facilitator, coach, speaker, founder of Interact Consulting. She helps women entrepreneurs and leaders who find themselves frustrated and unfulfilled despite outward signs of success. When they work with Farah, they reimagine their business, crafting a lucrative, purpose-driven enterprise that delivers more confidence, more connection, more revenue, and more meaning. Welcome, Farah, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rose. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to meet you. So you help female entrepreneurs. How did you get into doing that?
Well, I think it comes straight from what I was looking for at a point in my life. And I've been wearing 2 hats mainly. I'm a facilitator and also used to be coaching. But while I was in this journey of looking at ways in which I could get out of some of the stuckness that I had or the staleness that I felt in my journey, in my career journey, that's when I realized that the time I actually found that power back, when I felt powerful and unstoppable, was when I had that support to look at how can I really change the way I was looking at things, reimagine what my business would look like. And I think that support that I had changed everything for me. And of course, over time, while I was still looking at, wearing that facilitation hat, I always say facilitation is in my DNA. Really, really, truly love impacting leaders across the world. And also bringing some coaching in my practice. And I think what really changed was the pandemic, when I had the opportunity to lean into the other hat a little more closely. And when I started to think about, what I was experiencing and thinking about what I can support other women to also have, that's when I started to be very creative. So I started talking about, how can I unlock courage in other women to be the highest version of themselves, to choose the business they want to be in. And so started this whole journey of looking at what else can I offer. And I did some creative stuff, Rose. I launched a couple of group coaching programs to invite women from across the world to be part of it, to experience it. And that's when I had the confidence and that, that excitement to continue doing this. So it comes from this deep sense of, what I've experienced, and how can I also add that value to other women today.
Yep. Sounds excellent. Actually, that's why a lot of us start our businesses, because we want to help others, and
Yeah.
we've been in a position where we've required help, and so we think, well, why don't we pay it forward and help others when with the skills and knowledge that we have.
And I have this so much belief. So I come from this mindset, one thing, which is have this immense belief in the potential of humans, what we can actually do. And so when I have that regard for what we can achieve, I find that that's what I bring to my work. And I think that's what gives me that passion and that fuel in my work every day, because I know that we have it inside. So it's how can I actually be that mirror, or invite people to think differently? And that's when you can actually choose to unlearn and relearn things, and that's when you actually see change happen. So you're right. I think it's all about how can we pay it forward? How could we actually touch lives? And Rose, about 10 years ago, when I was turning 6 years ago, when I was turning 50, I had this thought about what am I going to do the next 10 years. So I had this big thing, it's like the next 10 years I'm going to be thinking about what legacy am I going to be leaving. And that became a very strong thought. And of course, lots happened in that time. And then I woke up and said, I'm 55 now. What, how alive am I in that vision? And so I kept looking at what I was trying to do, and started believing that this is the right time. And of course, that's when you choose to be who you want to be. And then of course, when you do that, whoever needs that support really comes in your path. And I like that, so it's easy.
I agree.
It's very easy. Yeah,
it is. It is much easier if you're not having to force it, and it's actually something that you believe that you live every single day.
True.
Yeah. So mindset and skill set, has a huge impact on how we operate our businesses and get them to flourish. So in what ways can we, change our mindset? Well, I mean, we can always change our skill set by, going out and learning, but our mindset is a little bit different. How can we change that so that it's in a more positive frame of mind, especially when things aren't going as well as they could?
When you talk about mindset, it's, I feel that most of my work really revolves around that piece. And I find that the work I have done on myself has been the biggest shift has happened when it's how I think. And I find that when you're acutely aware of what you want and move away from what you don't want, then automatically it comes in your vision. And I think that's what I have been able to do. And I find that the moment I choose to focus on other stuff, I get scattered and I lose sight of what I want to do. So one of the things I truly believe is when I think about mindset is perspective. It's how I see the world. It's how I see everything. So a lot of us sometimes focus on looking backwards and looking at all the things that didn't work. And for me, one of the things that has helped me, and I think it's also innate in my personality and, from the time I was young as well, so I didn't have to really work hard on it, Rose, is that I have this thing of looking forward. In spite of all the roller coasters I've been through and all of us also go through, there's a lot of energy that I feel when I'm looking ahead. So for me, this is the direction that drives me. So while there's a lot I learned from where I've come from, and I can pull that out, but just the fact that I can look ahead and start dreaming of the kind of life I want to create, the kind of the people I want to meet, the business I want to start, the collaborations I want to make, just when I think about that, it really shifts my energy. So I truly believe that it's about how you view things. And at one time there, I've been there, I had this tendency of when I'm trying to do something new, that I would make it like a huge mountain. I mean, for me, it looked like climbing Mount Everest, and it would paralyze me because I would just feel like, oh, there's so much to do. And I found that it was so interesting when I shifted that. It was when I was drawing something. So I'm very visual, and I'm also like drawing stuff. And when I was doing that, I was thinking about my life. I was looking at all these stuff that I did in my life and where I am. And it looked like, hold on, it looked like this, right? If you can see that, like these mountains. So I was staring at that, and at one point when I looked at it, it looked like a heartbeat. And I was thinking, oh yes, you know, it's like a heartbeat, and everything there's a high and a low. And that was like a huge shift for me when I thought about it, that everything I've experienced is that. So what can I do to embrace that? So I don't think I spend any time living in the past. That's one of my biggest things. So if I would say one thing that would really shift you and anyone who's looking at changing and dreaming and making things work in their business, it would be choosing to shift their mindset. And that would, is just truly thinking bigger at that time, because I think it's tough. We all experience really tough times, but when I'm able to move into that energy, I get a lot of. I truly believe that that's when you can change things. And
Yeah, I'm an eternal optimist. So it doesn't matter whether things is like almost a disaster. I can always see that there's something good going to come out of it. It doesn't matter what it is. And so I think if we can choose to expand ourselves in the face of adversity, there's got to be a good outcome. If you just keep imagining, you keep saying to yourself that it's going to be okay, you're not going to die because the kettle didn't boil, or or the computer broke, or something, and there's obviously a reason why something's unforeseen has happened, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, whether you can see it for now, but if you keep working towards it, I think that's a good way to live one's life.
I think we have that in common. When you say you're an eternal optimist, I'm a hopeless optimist. Okay. And I realize that it becomes very hard for others to deal with this kind of optimism because, even when I had some really tough experiences, I was able to move out of it really quickly because I know that there was a reason for that. And I'm able to look at it with a different lens. And I think it took time for me to get there, but I know that that optimism is something that drives me. And I always say, I'm 21 till I die. And I think that's what makes me feel pretty young at heart and young in my thinking. And so while optimism is good, I find that it's really important to be very objective as well about when I see things. So a couple of things that really work with me is, how I view a situation. And so if I stay too much in the emotion, I get lost in it. And there's no way I can even imagine anything after that. So I think that has been a really big shift when I've acknowledged what I'm feeling. But when I'm dealing with stuff, I've seen that significant shift in me, that I'm able to view it in a way that I'm not blinded by it. And I think I must share this. It just reminds me of my story coach, who says something really beautifully. He says that don't share your story from the wound, share it from the scar. And I find that so powerful because that reminds me of how we get caught up in the emotion of a struggle we're having in our business, where things are not going well and we've not made that progress the last month. We haven't made new connections or our clients, etc. And that can really pull you down. And I find that should be like it should give us data of, hey, this means I haven't done this. This is what I can do next. So I think that's the shift that I've taken over the years, from being that emotional fool to becoming a lot more objective about how I see things, because numbers don't lie. And if you have a formula of doing things, You know what didn't work, what worked, just go with that. And so I find that's really interesting. That has worked for me. And when you spoke about the light at the end of the tunnel, that's another thing that I believe in that has helped me reimagine my business, which is all about who's in my network, what connections have I made. And for me, that has been the biggest beacon of light through really tough times. And I find that even if I look around me, there's so much support. There are pillars of support anywhere, Rose. I mean, anywhere in the world. And I think it's knowing that that gives me the courage to try new things. That I do have a fantastic, support, a network that I can lean into. And of course, not just the ones that who are waiting to hold my hand and support me, but there are others as well that if I turn around, I can shine a light on others. And that's how I can support others come in. So it's a beautiful chain. And I find that connections are everything at work. You just can't do this thing called life alone and business alone, because
No, you don't really. I mean, we think we do, but to be honest, I mean, a client is a connection. A like-minded business owner, or someone who's in the same field as us, is a connection. We're connected by 6 degrees of separation or something like that worldwide, so it's not really a lot. We're all intertwined some way or other, and the sooner that people realize that, and I think globally, no, I'm not saying business owners, I'm saying globally, I think the world will be a lot happier place. And if they just shifted their mind set a little bit and saw the good in things rather than the bad in things, I think we'd all be a lot happier too.
I know that's so hard, right? I mean, right now I'm working with some clients, and I find that it's so easy to fall into that trap of focusing on, how do I do this, and what is needed to move that. So the how becomes such a big thing. Give the tactics, give the strategies. I want to do it right now, and then that's the interesting thing that I noticed, that the moment you realize that it's not the how, it's really not the how. The first thing is about who am I being in that moment. And I find that, recently one of my clients had the most incredible success, and I'm just sitting in silence to see how she has really shifted from where she started. And that was the way she was looking at situations in her work. She was a lot of pressure to walk into a room in a meeting, etc. And the pressure she had was, how can she be seen as an expert? How can she say the right thing, ask the right questions? What should I ask? So even before that meeting, there was this whole thing of, what can I, how do I have a script ready? And I think that she moved from that to staying present. It was simple as, who am I being in that moment? How can I just own myself, center myself, and just be there and witness what's happening, be fully in that moment. It was a small shift, and that small shift changed everything in that whole day. And I find that she has changed forever after that. So sometimes this small shift, that the mind shift that we have, can change everything. And that's when you start dreaming of bigger stuff. You start thinking of, what more can I do? How can I start something new and try different things? And I think that's when you step into your
own
genius.
Power. It's when you step into your own power, I think. And I'm forever thinking of new projects, forever, and I'm really into shiny objects. I'll start one thing and, oh, look at that thing, I can do this thing now, and do this other thing. So I'm doing about 5 things at once, and then I think, oh my God, I get so overwhelmed, because then I've started all this stuff and I've committed to it, and then I have to do it, and I think, oh no, how am I going to fit it into my day? And so then I have to break it down into, I will work on this today and I'll work on that tomorrow. So by the end of the week, I've worked on all the 5 things that that I've decided that I'm going to do. Because
I do that.
I can't just not do things. I have to keep my brain active.
And that's so exciting because I think we have a lot in common. When I listen to you, it sounds like me because I find that there's so much to do in this world. And when I get connected deeply with something new, when I hear something, I mean, nothing can take me away from it. So it can be something I'm adding to my plate, but I would choose to, let go of stuff to bring that in. Earlier, I wasn't like that. I would stretch myself and I say, sleep is a waste of time, because then I would stay up till late, and I would say, even 2 a.m. I'm falling in love with my work and getting deeper in some research and trying new things. So I've been there, and I realized that wasn't serving me. And of course, I realized
I've realized in the last couple of weeks it doesn't serve me well either. So I'm actually in bed fairly early. I was in bed 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and because I do my best work at night. I have my best ideas at night just before I should be going to bed. I have this epiphany, and let's just organize this, and by the time I know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I should be in bed sleeping.
You sound just like me, and I think that's why we're connecting so deeply. And I think that's interesting, because when you said there's so many things that you enjoy doing, and I think just I've been in this beautiful coaching summit, the WX, and one of the incredible speakers talked about a word that, she had a fantastic fireside chat on digital tools and strategies, and what we can do in an organization to shift that. But one thing she started was introducing herself like a multi-hyphenate. And I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but and she described it as someone who has multiple roles and talents that they have, and they are not shy to bring that to the table. And I stopped right there, and I said, that's who I am. I love to facilitate. I love to coach. I'm mentoring. I'm writing. I'm speaking. And there are so many other things that I do. And I'm not shy of that. There might have been times when I would wonder, how can I introduce myself? Because it's important to do one thing really well. And then I give myself permission to really feel expansive, because I have the capacity to take on new things. And these are the choices I make. And of course, some choices might be, they don't work for me. But knowing that I've tried it and trying something new has been so exciting. I think that's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. I don't know. I'm more of the work behind the scenes sort of a person. So I have a friend of mine. She lives in South Australia, and she's the face of our organization, and I just do all the stuff behind, and I just say, well, look, I'm going to do this podcast, or I'm going to do this or that, and she's my business coach too, and she says, oh, that's not really a good idea, but I do it anyway, and just if I fall flat in my face, at least I can say I tried.
I know, that's the key. It's important to try. I think without trying, there's a lot of procrastination, inaction, and it's not worth it. I feel it's important to try it at least once. So I love what you just said.
Yeah, my tagline is, don't wait for the opportunity, create it. So
create it, yeah.
So
and I think, I read that in your email, and I paused there because I also say something. I also believe in the future is not something you create, it's something you enter into, or something like that. It's a very powerful quote, very similar to yours, but it's it's not something that you enter, it's something you create. So it's similar to yours.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, Farah, have you written a book on this fabulous concept that you have?
So I did two things. So one is in the pandemic, I wrote my first book called Being Unstoppable, and Dare to Be You. And it was an ebook that I wrote, and I was thinking about what really shifts for me, and I think I was very creative at that time. There's some really interesting exercises I gave at those 5 things that really served me in being unstoppable and changing the trajectory of my life. So that's an ebook that I've written. But what I did really fun was being part of my first collaboration book. And this book was very unique because it helped me to start thinking about, what I want to write in the future. So I wanted to get into that. One of my books that are about to be, you'll see soon, is on legacy. How that's the driving force about creating your legacy. But when I was part of this collaboration book with 50 other fantastic authors across the world, it was a book called, the title was The Book I Read. Now, here was the book in which we were looking at writing one chapter of how a book transformed our lives. And so we could pick any book from our lives and what really happened. So it wasn't a book summary, but it was what shifted. So that's a book that I've written very recently, and I'm so excited because it became the Amazon bestseller. And of course, all the proceeds go to a charity we all choose. And I think that chapter that I wrote was very symbolic for me because it really was at a point in my life when I was looking back and I was looking forward, and I was able to bridge it with the kind of vulnerability I needed to start something from scratch and do something new. So I think that's one pet project that I have.
Look for them on Amazon, and
Yes.
and please everyone, when you think of it, please look for Farah Ismail's book on Amazon and have a good read of it. I'm sure you'll be enlightened and delighted.
I hope so, yes. I'm sure, because that's just one story, and you might have 49 other stories of the other amazing authors who recommend a book that changed their life. So can you imagine, you have your book list for the entire year probably ready.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, you don't have to look anywhere else.
Farah, where can people find you if they'd like to know more or they'd like to work with you?
I think I'm very active on LinkedIn. So while I'm on all the other platforms, but where I naturally gravitate towards is LinkedIn. So I'd love to connect on LinkedIn, and would love if anybody wants to send me an email or say hi, just feel free to connect with me in any of these platforms. It could be LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, but LinkedIn is where I have this affinity towards.
Right, that's terrific. And any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Oh my God, wisdom. All right. I think this is something I live by. I would say to all the entrepreneurs, business owners, change makers who are looking at disrupting themselves and reimagining their life, I would say, be brave enough to use your voice, be bold enough to listen to your heart, be strong enough to live a life reimagined. That's what I would say.
Lovely. I love that. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Farah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Rose. It's a pleasure.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.